Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Ever since Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 came out, I've always been struggling with performance, and I'm not the only one. At the end of last year, I upgraded my old setup, which was an RTX 3060 with 16 gigabytes of RAM and Ryzen 5 5600X, to an RTX 5070 Ti, which, mind you, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. This was certainly a massive upgrade for my computer, but still, my game was running on low FPS and was stuttering like absolute crazy. Until now. I literally factory resetted my computer last week, or a few days ago, but sure, it was last week, to get rid of all of the junk so I could crack down on how to make my game stutter free and smooth. And guess what, guys? I found it. I don't know if you can see, but this is very, very smooth. Now, yes, notice here, I'm on 90 something FPS. I did tweak a few settings because yesterday I was going to record the same video, and the same scenario here at Frankfurt on VATSIM, enabled 350, no low texture resolution, we're on high texture resolution, by the way, and this is no low texture resolution mode. By the way, the traffic is also on 4K. I will talk more about this later. FSLTL traffic here on VATSIM, a nice, beautiful day to fly. And yet, my computer is still performing well. Very smooth, I'm telling you. Although I'm getting these FPS drops, very, very smooth. But I'm certain that you won't get the FPS drop because I made a little tweak to this, which kind of makes my FPS less unstable. But what I will show you will make your FPS especially stable. So before we get into this, I would like to thank the Flight Sim community. Because without the Flight Sim community, I would not have been able to achieve such great and smooth performance. And I think everybody who flies in Microsoft Flight Simulator deserves a smooth gameplay. Because this is such a wonderful game. And it's such a shame to not experience the beauties of the game because of crash the desktop, low FPS if you're not able to land all of this stuff. So today I will do my best to show you the settings that the Flight Sim community, found out. And I want to give a special shout out to the following content creators and Flight Sim community members, which have helped me. This is a compilation of basically everything I've gathered since the simulator came out, including 2020, some more tricks too, in order to make your game run smooth. And lots of the videos come from the following people: your SimCFI, Captain Lou, Flylex, Simblitz, Island Sim Pilot, and especially Airborne Geek, as this Discord community was extremely helpful and being the final straw and actually making my simulator super, super smooth. I used to run this exact scenario with DLSS frames and ×2 on 40 FPS and lower settings, by the way. Right now, I am all on ultra settings. All on ultra settings, and I'm getting almost 100 frames per second. So, without further ado, just one little more very important thing. Before we start and cut the bullshit, it's very important to consider that every computer is different, and the settings and the tweaks and elements and settings I might show you may or may not work for your computer, but this is what works for my computer. So if you want, and I recommend, I didn't do it for myself, but set a restore point on your computer, and let's begin. So firstly, let's go to settings here. We're gonna go to display, which you can find in systems display. We're going to scroll down to graphics. We are going to ensure that optimization for Windows games is on. Additionally, hardware accelerated GPU scheduling must be on, or else you won't get frame generation. Now, over here, if you do not have Microsoft Flight Simulator in this list, you can go to add Microsoft. You basically add it through these two options. I'd recommend it if you have it through the store. Add it through the store, or if you have your desktop location for me, it's in the C drive. You can find it over here. Sometimes it might give you an error that it's the not that you need to select the game launcher. I have both just because I have it from the store. I added it over here. So once you find it over here, go to preferred GPU, put your graphics card, and make sure it's not your integrated graphics, and then high performance, and then turn this option on, optimization for Windows games. And that should be it for the settings part. Next, it's the Nvidia app. Now, the Nvidia app. Firstly, make sure you're on the latest drivers. Of recording today, it is February 12th. And the latest drivers are from January 27, 2026, 591.86. So go into graphics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, scroll all the way down. There are a few important key settings we have to see here. Now, assuming that you've updated everything, you can either do one of the two things. You click on the DLSS override, scroll all the way to the bottom. Then you either click recommended settings, or I would suggest you to do this. It gives you more flexibility and assurance that you have the profile you selected. Click on custom, frame generation, recommended, and super resolution preset. So this we need to talk a little bit about. There are different types of presets for DLSS, but the latest one is M, which is the one I'm using right now. The thing is, unless you are using DLAA, you are going to receive a little bit of ghosting, even with 4.5. So let's say you don't want to use too much DLAA for your anti-alias or the setting. You would want to use preset K as it gives you less ghosting. For me, I use preset M, and I switch between DLAA and between quality mode. So you can mess around with this. Try preset M, try preset J, and try preset K. These are the three latest kind of ish ones I would recommend you to do. Preset K is a bit older, but it doesn't have ghosting. Well, less ghosting, let's say. It's one of these very negligible things, but try it out for yourself until it works. Now, DLSS override frame generation. Put it to 3x, okay? Put it to 3x, very important. Or 2x, depending on your monitor, but we'll talk about this later. And three more important things. Monitor technology should be to fix refresh rate. Power management mode, maximum performance, okay? You want to put maximum performance and turn a vertical sync on, VSync over here on. Let's see, that should be everything for this. Oh yeah, one more thing. Now, this is up to you, unless you use DLSS filters and everything. I would suggest you to turn off DLSS overlay, because it uses a bit more computer resources, but I would suggest to turn it off just to kind of maximize your computer resources and the allocation to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now we need to go to the Nvidia control panel. So the Nvidia control panel over here. First thing to do is go to Manage 3D Settings, go to Program Applications. So Program Settings, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. If you don't see it, you can add it over here. And once you have it selected, scroll down. Now you're going to see there are a few settings for me that are changed, but in reality you only need to change a little bit of settings. I don't know why these are on. I'm too scared to change them to risk my Flight Simulator from not being smooth. If you have any insight in the comments, please let me know. But there are only a few settings. Not all settings I'll talk about, because as I said, I don't know why they're on, but it works for me. And there are only a few required settings you have to set. So the first thing, again, make sure your monitor technology is set to fixed, power management, maximum performance, VSync is on, and that should be it. These ones over here, I have no idea why they're like this. If you have an explanation in the comments, I would appreciate it, but I do not want to risk changing it simply because my game is fine. So if you want to test it for yourself, here's what I have. That should be done for the Nvidia control panel and the 3D manage settings. Next, what we can do is we need to go to change resolution. Now this is a very, very important part. You see, I'm running two ultra-wide monitors, okay? And only one of them is for Microsoft Flight Simulator. The other one is for Valanta, Discord, your charts, vPilot, all that kind of things, okay? Now here's the thing. If you have two monitors, set them to the same refresh rate. But specifically about the refresh rate, and I'll repeat this. Your refresh rate should be equal to the reliable FPS you can get, including frame gen. So see, I have it at 100, okay? And I'm running, okay, negligible difference. It's a bit performing worse because yesterday it was stable 99 and there was much more traffic. But I need to find why that is. But anyways, okay? So see, for me it's capped at 99, 33 times 3, okay? I have 99, that's a negligible difference, okay? But let's say you have a 60 Hertz monitor and you want to do 60 Hertz. It's very easy. You can do 20. You can set your game. You can limit your game to 20 FPS times 3, or you can do 30 times 2. Very easy. I would recommend 30 times 2 if you can, because then you don't have all the weird, well, much of the downsides of using frame generation, such as like the bugs and the latency and everything. But for me, I would, if you can push your computer to try to do 33 times 3, and at 100 hertz, I would certainly recommend you to. Okie doke. So now we need to go to DLSS Swapper. Now, DLSS Swapper is an external application that I link in the description. All of my links are in the description. For also like the links for the creators and the people that have helped, in addition to important links where you can get other resources and get the following applications I'm about to mention. So DLSS Swapper, again, a renowned application to change your DLSS version and stay up to date. Now this is what I have over here. For your DLSS version, always use the latest. That's what I have it at. For frame generation, I haven't necessarily tested it, but because I've been tweaking my computer and I've been having problems with frame generation actually before anything else, I tested it with a few versions here. It didn't work, so I just kept the default. But if it works, if your frame generation is better on a higher version, try it. I keep it on the current version. And then here's your preset. Remember how we talked about the presets in the DLSS Nvidia application? So preset J, K, sure, throw L in there and M. I have it in M. And make sure it's the same between the application and here. That should be it for DLSS Swapper. And now we need Nvidia Profile Inspector. So it's an application which I have over here. Application... Flight sim, this application, Profile Inspector. Okay, so Profile Inspector, again, a third-party application you can download, and it helps you see into the settings of your computer and your graphics card. I would highly suggest installing it for this one little setting. So at the top of here, you go to Profile, you type Microsoft Flight Simulator. You're just going to find it over here. And scroll down over here to Common. Now, just ensure that, of course, you have times 3. We checked that this multiple times already in different application. This should all match with all the previous applications we've checked. And enable rebar. So this, for some people, it works better. For some people, it doesn't. I would highly suggest to enable rebar, which you can do through here and in the settings. Another correction in the BIOS. Another thing I would recommend to do in the BIOS, if you can, is to enable XMP mode. Just makes your RAM faster and overall ultimately gives you better FPS in general. So once you have rebar enabled, you can close out of that. And now we have the big juicy part. GPU-Z. So GPU-Z is this application again, always linked in the description. It allows you to see a bit of your information regarding your graphics card. But additionally, it allows this heavenly application to know when you're out of VRAM to start adjusting different parameters. So over here is AutoFPS. Now AutoFPS is a game changer. What it does, it changes the terrain level of detail and the object level of detail in order to reach in order to get your preferred FPS. So you see over here 33, this is non-frame gen. When I click in the same, of course, you see I go up with frame gen. But basically what it does is it allows you to get a stable FPS, maintain good GPU performance without basically killing it, and gives a bit of headroom with the VRAM, which of course, as you know, Microsoft Flight Simulator is kind of takes lots of VRAM. So here are my settings. If you're going to do 100 FPS, or if you have 100 refresh rate, you set it to 100. I would do non-frame generation, limit to 33. All top over here, you can copy. Oh my goodness, what was that playing that just flew by? You can check all the settings over here. Terrain level of detail minimum. That's what I have it at, 100. I think 100 is, sure, you can have it at minimum if you still want to see some decent distances for buildings. Let's say you're landing in JFK or something. And I have it at 500. And then the maximum, I have it at 200. If you're flying IFR, I don't think you really need to go too much up. Especially when you're in altitude, like, you're not necessarily gonna notice too much at cruise between 200 and 300. So I have it at 200 over here. Additionally, just you can copy all these settings, but important setting is VRAM max. Now VRAM max only works if you have GPU-Z, and GPU-Z must be running in order for VRAM max to be working. So every time you start simulator, make sure it's running. Now for max level and all of this nonsense, basically to change other different parameters if your FPS decides to drop low. For me, I like to keep the clouds the same. The trees I don't necessarily care too much about. For me, it's primarily like the clouds and whatnot. No, usually it's actually, I think I set it. I turned, well, anyways, for some reason it reset because there was an update right before this. But anyways, so this is what I have over here. It basically changes all of these parameters if your FPS decides to go really, really, really low. And that's it. This is an application I highly recommend. Do some more research and testing because every PC is going to be different. But for me, it seems to work fine. So now that we're actually done with AutoFPS and some application, we still have more. By the way, I have a large extra part which is very good at the end. I would highly recommend staying for this. Let's look at the Microsoft Flight Simulator settings, okay? So firstly, notice how DLSS, I'm running DLAA, which I highly recommend if you can. By the way, I also tested this in TAA. Negligible difference with FPS. Obviously, if you have an Nvidia card, you will have greater FPS with DLSS, generally. But even with TAA, it was a negligible difference. The only reason why I'm using it now is because I'm getting no ghosting, okay? Which is absolutely perfect and just makes it easier for my GPU. Now, this is the key, okay? Max frame rate. If you're setting your game, so if your monitor refresh rate is at 100 Hz, you want to target 100 Hz exactly. Correction, 100 FPS exactly. As you saw for me, it was fluctuating between 80 to 99. Okay, big difference, big difference. But I was testing with a little bit of things. Yesterday it was constant and there was more traffic too. So, but the settings you're seeing is everything that I have because I've them noted down anyways. Let's say you're running 60 Hz, you want to target 60 FPS exactly. Do the math, very easy. 2 times 30, you get 60. So you have times 2 over here, but you need to go back into the Nvidia app and change it, and then you set it to 30. If you want Nvidia times 3, then you have to do 20 FPS. Now, notice here, before I could barely run 60 FPS times 2 on medium to high settings. Now everything is ultra. A few things, well, most things, but there are a few things I turn off. Notice this, except texture resolution. Even if you have a beefy 5070 graphics card, correction, 5090 graphics card with lots of VRAM, I'd still suggest to go to texture resolution to high. But everything, all the rest is high ultra, okay? Now, why is this terrain level of detail lower? This is because it's controlled by AutoFPS. So just keep that in mind. As you increase and as you take off in altitude, as your altitude starts increasing, the object level detail will decrease as the terrain level detail will increase to maintain the FPS that you've set over here, okay? Non-FR means no frame generation. So you have 33 over here, or is it non-FG that's supposed to be here? Well, anyways. So, yeah. So you see, buildings ultra, all of this stuff is ultra, okay? Texture resolution is high. So displacement map, unless you're flying VFR or anything, I don't see much of a difference here. And off-screen peak catching is a big one. We'll talk about this later because there's this one thing that we need to do. But even if it's high, off, on, after you apply all of these settings at the end of the video, it doesn't matter this is set to. Now, there are a few other settings I'd like to talk about that I don't see many people talk about. These are the bullshit settings, or like the settings that you don't really need, at least for me. Character, variety, quality, I don't really care. I just want to fly the plane. I just want to, I just want to fly the plane. Additionally, all of this like airport vehicle and everything, if you're flying on VATSIM, of course you don't want, or any other network, say attention, beyond ATC, you don't want to have static aircraft behind you, which are not part of the network, which you may see aircrafts in between each other, which is obviously something you don't necessarily want to have. The only thing over here that I have on would be road traffic, because I like to see my road traffic at night. and sea traffic. If I'm flying to Greece or something like this, you want to see all the nice boats and everything. So yeah, ray trace shadows. The only difference I see is with the Airbus 350. I would turn it off, gives you more FPS, but it's completely up to you. Now, if you want to see this FPS counter, it's very easy. You have to go into the advanced option, developer mode, go to debug, and then press this one over here, display FPS. Notice that over here it says 33, but when I'm actually in game, this is where frame generation kicks in and gives me the 99 FPS that I want. In the settings, it's gonna keep in the limit that we've set. Also, big thing, because frame generation wasn't working for me and I did everything and it was just one little setting. Smart docking, just turn that off, because frame generation is not gonna work with smart docking on. There is this one thing to do. Go into where your Microsoft Flight Simulator is installed. Now for me, in my case, this is going to be in the following. I think that's for most people. It's going to be your user app data local packages, Microsoft Limitless 8, whatever this thing is. You go into here, you go into local cache, okay? And this is user config, the user config file. You want to double click this, open it in some notepad, okay? Which one? Open it in some notepad and scroll down until you should see it should be off screen pre-catching. So do Control Fox off screen over here, enter, and you see it over here, okay? Off screen terrain pre-catching. Oh, that's very odd because it changed it. Maybe that's because of the update of AutoFPS, and maybe that's why because I updated AutoFPS and my thing is worse now. But essentially, you see where it says enabled? Set that to 0. I need to set mine, but I'm still in the game, so I don't want my game to crash or bug out. But set enabled to 0, and then go to file and save it. Then that should be good. The next thing to do that I would highly recommend to do, but for me, unfortunately, it's not necessarily working. FSLTL. If you fly on any network, such as VATSIM, iVow, Say Intentions, you're most likely using FSLTL traffic. And that's why I would highly suggest to watch a video which I've linked in the description. Great guy, Captain Lou, and he dictates and goes through the steps one by one, very helpful on how to get your FPS, how to downscale your FSLTL traffic to 1K. No visual difference in my opinion. The only problem is, for me, it has not been working. I did all the steps, I go to the VMR file, I have it, but yet, for some reason, it doesn't necessarily work. So, you let me know if you have any fix. I try to follow everything. If I need to delete some file, because I still have a file that says texture optimization. I don't know if I need to delete it or not, but if it works for you, great, I'm happy for you. But if not, it might be a bit worse on the FPS. Now, here is a juicy part. Here is the extra part I wanted to tell you about. Now, although you've set all these settings, it's not gonna last forever. As you continue to accumulate junk and flying around the world, you will ultimately make your PC slower. And this is because you accumulate temp folders and all this nonsense that you just want to delete and get rid of in order to have a smooth gameplay and continue to maintain your computer instead of factory resetting every once in a while. Now, this is why I have 3 tips that I can give you in order to maintain your computer as fresh as possible and to reduce the stuttering, input lags, and just make your computer faster in general. First thing is to delete the Microsoft Flight Simulator cache. So go back over here to local cache where Microsoft Flight Simulator is installed. You see rolling cache.ccc. Just right click that and delete it. Very simple. Every time you do a new simulator, there'll be a new one and it will start to accumulate cache for it. The next thing to do is install an app called Easy Gamer Utility. This is a great app because you are able to clean all of your cache without going into settings, setting your cache to unlimited, which I recommend you to do, and deleting the files inside of your user app data. You can simply just click clean over here. Very simple. And last thing is to delete a few temporary files, and this is how you're going to do it. You're gonna type run. You're gonna and there are 3 commands. The first one is temp. Okay. Continue. you're going to click on any file, Control A and Control D. It's gonna ask you. Some files cannot be deleted, so just press this. Do this for all current items, and then skip, and then boom. You have some. You only have a few things deleted over here. The next thing to do is to go to percentage temp percentage again. Control alpha, control delta. It's gonna ask you same thing. Skip. I said do this for all anyway, so boom. There we have it. And one last thing. There we go. Yes, it was prefetch after all. So prefetch over here. Control A, Control D again. And same thing over here. Just skip and boom. Now you're not done. One thing. Go to your disk cleaner. Go over here and press on all of the things you need to clean here. Already 19, but that's from the recycle bin anyways. You have your shader cache. Just because I have a fresh computer, just deleted everything, so it's not that big. Haven't done actually single flight, which because I've been meaning to get cracked down on the simulator, and I will test and do flight tomorrow hopefully. But just click all of this and you do your Windows clean, and you just wait, and then that's it. So thank you again so much for watching this video. I deeply want to thank the Flight Simulator community as a whole, because I really think everybody should deserve to have a nice smooth simulator. Although I haven't flown, this is the smoothest frames I've ever gotten, and even as you can see here, and even I'm getting no stutters at all. No stutters at all. Any builds 350. This is no stutters at all. You see, it's just so beautiful, absolutely amazing over here. We have the cabin and everything. Everything is beautiful. So thank you again so much for watching this video. I hope this was insightful to you. Please let me know if you have any more tips and tricks you'd like to share to the community. And until next time, I will make sure to keep you updated if I find anything or make a mistake somehow. But thank you again. It's deeply appreciated, and have a great day.